Neelkanth, hi, Aisha as well joining in, and I want you to keep your economist hat on for a while. You made a couple of interesting points there. So tell me, how does the BOP deficit issue get resolved then?
Yeah, so there are three ways of addressing a BOP deficit. The first is to increase exports, which I think is happening to some extent, but as you can imagine, you cannot suddenly, if your BOP deficit is $60 billion, you cannot suddenly raise exports by $60 billion. It will happen over 3-4 years, but I think it's very hard to adjust it very quickly. The second is to get more capital. So we can get inclusion in the bond indices, like the global bond indices, and that could bring in $30-40 billion in 1 year. We can decide to step up that process. And the third, because even that actually, given what has happened to global markets and what is likely to happen to global markets, given that, in our view, the Asia Pacific earnings will see downgrades, and they may be led by hardware, technology, and materials, metals in particular. But as that happens, I think it'll create more disruption. So I think the portfolio flows to emerging markets, and we are anchored to, because a large part of flows that come to India are through the emerging market funds or Asia funds. So if there is concern there, I think it is very unlikely that capital flows will pick up by themselves. And even the FDI flows, which is the private equity venture capital type of flows, which were dominating flows in the last 3-4 years, I think are likely to slow down for various reasons that I think have been now well publicized. So getting more capital in is going to be a challenge. Other than the inclusion in global bond indices. That brings you to the issue of reducing imports. Now, when you reduce imports, you can choose to reduce only the imports of what has seen higher increases in prices. But the problem there is that if you bring down energy import volumes that meaningfully, it will really badly hurt domestic GDP. Because you cannot grow GDP without using dense forms of energy, right? If you want to move faster, you want to automate, you want to use computers, you want to have a better climate control in your house or in your car, you need, or in your train, you need more energy. So the best way to do that, and see, there is no good option, right? People have questioned, oh, are you saying that imported goods should all become expensive? The poor man's household will be hurt. That is a sad reality. The problem is that we are dependent on imported energy. It has become substantially more expensive than it used to be. And therefore, it is important to change our import basket. So if you can't and we shouldn't be bringing down our imported energy by that volume, then we need to bring down the imported avocados. We need to bring down the imported blueberries. And I know those are small numbers, but wherever we are dependent on imports, which are to a slight extent discretionary, we need to bring down those imports. And how do you do that? You cannot tell someone to stop having imported avocados or imported apples. You need to let prices go up, and those prices then become the signal that force down the consumption, and people switch to domestic avocados. Now those are available. We can question the quality of them, but the point is that that transition and then a weaker currency will also support exports over a period of time. And that's a much healthier correction. The rupee, in fact, the real effective exchange rate has actually strengthened marginally. It has not changed much over the last year or so. In fact, against the US dollar, the rupee over the last 3 months is one of the strongest currencies. And the only currencies that are stronger are that of commodity exporters. So that's I don't think, a very prudent level to maintain. And letting the rupee drift down a bit is going to be very helpful for making those adjustments.
Neelkanth, I sense a tactical shift in your diet. We're talking avocados, we're talking cranberries, and I'm sure there's quinoa as well in there.
There's none of that. I like my roti sabji, but those are examples which may appeal to investors who I think have gained in prosperity over the last 2 years.